We're ready, Terry.
He was Millwall, wasn't he? He supported Millwall, really.
Anushka, are you ready?
He's supposed to be out.
I think if you just sign off.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for coming. My name's Steve Edwards. I'm a CFU Trust Board member and standing in as in my customary role now as standing chair for the evening. I am Gina again for one night only. You're very welcome. We're delighted that our panel from the club have given up their evening to come and talk to us and answer your questions, and that will be followed by the AGM part that I hope everybody can stick around for. Please don't, unless you want to. But obviously we meet in a year down the line from what would have been quite a tumultuous previous 10 days. I think it was a week after you've been elected, I think so.
Something like that.
And obviously the year before that when things were perhaps not quite so good on the pitch. So we've seen the upheavals and the ups and downs. Good to see people here tonight. Please take advantage of asking not only the panel behind me questions, but for the CFU board, trust board, as we go into the AGM as well. That'd be great. I'm going to hand over to Mike, who's going to lead the Q&A session for this evening. So thank you very much.
Evening, everybody. Evening. Okay, let me just introduce our panel for you. I'm sure you know who they are, but on your left, it's Director of Football Mark Bonner. In the middle, Cambridge United board member Ian Mather, and on the other side is our Supporter Engagement Officer Amelia Edwards. And I'm just going to ask Amelia just very quickly to explain what a Supporter Engagement Officer does, just in case you don't know.
Thanks, Mike. So Supporter Engagement Officer was a new role when I came in, which was coming up to 2 years ago now, and sort of encompasses anything that is sort of trying to engage with new supporters. So that involves sort of community outreach, any sort of partnerships we have with ticketing on a match day. So that will be like through schools or any community organisations, charities and things. Also, everything else that goes on a match day outside. So you would have seen development in fan zones, our kids zones, the sort of South Stand development last season was all sort of under my remit, as well as mascots, matchday packages, charity themed matches, all of that sort of stuff, music in the fan zones. And then, throughout the week is more about how we can better engage with our existing supporters, but then also, obviously, ultimately, we want to grow the fan base long term. So any sort of strategy developments that we can do sort of on a match day and outside of a match day falls under my role.
That's lovely, thank you very much. Okay, we've got roughly until about 8:30, so it's your evening really. Any questions you want to ask, if you could put your hand up and I'll come to you with the microphone and I'll ask you to say who you are and if you can ask your question. Broadly speaking, Mark will take questions on the football side. Ian will take questions to do with business and redevelopment and so on, and Amelia on supporters. So with that in mind, let's go for the first one here. Sir.
Yeah, good evening all. Question for Mark. I'm David Holdenby, having North Haven supporter, season ticket holder. What's been the most challenging aspects of your job?
Good question, David. 1 year in, what's been the most challenging? I think because we've spanned 2 seasons in the year so far, turning round a culture of a losing team to a winning one is a pretty significant task. And a lot's gone into that, but it's probably been the biggest significant change or challenge of the whole time. And if you compare us to the other 3 teams that came down with us, I think they're all in the bottom 6 at the moment, I think. So we've obviously made some good progress there. So that in itself has been quite a big challenge. But that's it. There's a lot of change in there because a little bit of the first half of that challenge was to actually try and survive in League One, and the second half of that challenge was to try and build a team to be competitive in this league. So there's been change of players, change of staff, change of day-to-day behaviours, process, the way everybody works together. There's been a lot that's gone into that, and a significant number of changes that have helped us get to the point we are now, which is the exciting bit now, in the mix with 12 games to go.
Thank you. Who's got the next question? Terry, I'll come to you.
Thank you. I'm Terry Wilby. It's a bit of a question for Mark and for Ian. How should we get promoted? And of course, I'm one of those people who says we're not going to get promoted until we've actually done it, so I don't think about promotion. But should we get promoted, how will we be set up to financially work next year and also from a player's point of view?
Very wise philosophy to not get ahead of yourself. When you say from a player's point of view, do you just mean in terms of the squad we could build?
Effectively, yes.
Yeah.
We're sort of almost the second part of it. Will you have the same attitude that we had when our previous manager got us promoted a few years ago, whoever that was?
Yeah.
Will we have the same attitudes and the type of players that we want?
He nearly got us relegated too, but he didn't.
They did.
He didn't stay long enough.
You've got to be one sort of player to get this club relegated.
No, I think I'll probably agree with you that we don't want to try and get too far ahead. And I think when you're in potentially smaller football clubs, we were talking about this today, there's so many seasons. There's some clubs that have never been promoted and never been relegated, and I think that's pretty dull. So when there are so few highlight seasons and there's not like mass amounts of promotions over the years, our aspiration should always be to have really successful seasons. And I think the reality of the club where we find ourselves naturally now is probably anywhere between the middle of League Two and the middle of League One. And if you could split those two leagues into another league, that's probably where we sit naturally. And so at the moment, in the last few years, we've bounced in between those two leagues, and we'd love to try and get back there as soon as possible. If it's this year, amazing. And then the challenge will be to do what we were unable to do last time. First year, ride on the momentum, really, really strong squad, really strong team. The reality of the squad in League One is it got weaker every year, and we lost the best players, and we weren't able to replace them with better ones. And the challenging market outside of COVID is wages went up and up and up, and we weren't quite able to compete whilst we were buying the stadium and building the training ground and everything else. So we've hit off some huge big ticket items in that period of time. I think we're a miles better club now for the next time we go back there than the last time, and much stronger and much bigger infrastructure and more able to cope at the level, I think. That's the first thing. The second thing will be how much will we have and how competitive could we be budget-wise? I don't know. That's obviously for the owners to think about and future investment to maybe consider, can we stretch beyond what we did last time? But I also know that it isn't just resources that matter. You know, the season we got relegated back into League Two was the most we'd spent in any time I can remember being here ever. So it doesn't always matter how much you've got, it's how you spend it and how well you use it and having a bit of a plan around what you're going to do. So last time I don't think we were able to maintain the momentum. This time we've got to try and get there first, then we've got to try and maintain it. And then we have to find ways of keep being able to compete with all of the clubs that continually spend more every year. And while that is the landscape of football, we have to keep finding a way of doing it until the game sorts out a way of trying to make it a bit more sustainable naturally, because the rate of growth in the game or cost in the game has got to a level that is very, very challenging for smaller clubs to survive, and actually probably isn't right. But what I'd say is let's get there and let's try and do it better next time, rather than spend too long trying to get there.
I just want to add a point to that. It's not only about how much money you've got, it's how you spend it. And one of the things that Mark has done really well is, for example, in relation to the fitness of players and the injury list. I forget the number last year of how many minutes we lost to injury, but it was a hell of a lot, and it's a lot less now. And having that, having players who are actually, you pay them, but actually they're playing, is so much more important than just having a big budget that you can have loads of players.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say some of the stuff I'm going to say, but it's
Carry
between
on.
friends.
Carry on.
It's like
Between you.
I'll give you an example. We were fourth bottom budget in the league last year in spend, but fifth highest medical insurance spend. Near on £250,000 in medical insurance last year. We're about 27,000 this year. 20%, 22% of the overall budget last year was spent on players who were unavailable to play throughout the season. That runs at 7% this year. So a lot of the things, back to the earlier question of things that we put in place, that is an element of luck, because there always is. Football just has luck in it and no one can count for it. That does happen. But a lot of that is really competent people. For example, we've spent a little bit more in the staffing budget this year of the first team staff, but it's paid us back about 8 times compared to last season. So really competent staff, really well joined up, and ultimately with what we're trying to build, just like last time when we were successful, we started with the end in mind of what we wanted to be and then work back from there, rather than just spend money and hope it goes well.
Paul, you've got a question for Ian, I think, about the redevelopment.
By the way, Gardner's got a lot to answer for. Yes, obviously we're not going to be redeveloping the ground on both sides and so on now. So it was mentioned that you're going to potentially redevelop the corner there, over there by the main stand and the NRE. I just wondered if you could put a little bit of meat on the bones on that and how it's going to look and sort of expenditure that you're likely to spend on it. Because obviously, I think as we were saying earlier, you're caught in between, well, is it desirable to spend too much money on this ground if you're looking to move? But there again, you know, we need toilets. Good ones.
Yeah. Just a little bit of background on the decision to not redevelop or pause. Everything is still potentially on the table, but we did some detailed analysis of both the cost of developing 2 sites here and the likely increased revenue, and there was a very big gap for a very long period of time. So it didn't look like the best spend that could possibly be. So that said, well, let's pause now and see what else might be there, because there's a lot going on in Cambridge, as you all know. So there may be other opportunities. So that leads into your point about, well, do you just let this place rot, or do you do something about it? And Paul and Mark have been very clear that they don't want to let it rot. They know there's bits that need to be done here, and the toilets and T-bar that you're talking about in that corner over there is going to be developed. It's going to be sorted out. I can't exactly give you the design of the toilets. If Alex was here, I'm sure he would know. But it's about £100,000 going to go into demolishing it and putting something better. Because clearly, I was thinking about it, they were probably there in the 1930s, and they're not fit for purpose, so that will be done.
What's the timescale for that, Ian, do you know?
I think the aim is for the start next season.
Hi there, Amelia, I'm sorry, I think it's another one for Mark and for Ian. I was checking my phone a few weeks ago and something sort of, as you doom scrolling and all that, and I suddenly saw a picture of Ben Knight, and it said 2028. And when I looked more closely into my phone, I saw my own reflection and there were pound signs in my eyes, and I thought, this is really great business. And sort of thinking about over the years, revenue we've made from selling players, and obviously we're not looking to sell Ben we want him to carry on playing as he is, but obviously he is a real asset, and I think that's just a brilliant piece of business. But I wonder how much thought goes into that kind of thing, because I'm not sure we've got a wonderful record over many years of making too much from selling players ultimately.
I think there's less sales in general than people would like, so I don't think the transfer market's as lively as people might think, certainly for big fees or sizable ones. The last one we sold for very good money was Harry Darling, so that was in COVID year or lockdown. So that was the last big one that anyone would know about. We've obviously some academy boys that no one would have ever heard of that have gone for significant fees. But those boys, Harry was the last one. Now, in that time, we could have sold Harvey Nibbs. We had a good offer for him, but rejected it. And the same with Sam Smith. But we decided we would gain more from keeping them and staying in League One. So our record as a selling club could have been better in the last 5 years. Now, the difficulty with that is getting those players to extend their contracts. And to get players of high value or high potential at the peak years that they're in is really difficult to get them to extend. So those two are great examples. Lloyd Jones, another really good example. Dimi Mitov, another really good. These are players that we couldn't afford to keep and earn 2-3 times as much going elsewhere. So despite every effort of trying to do it, our next challenge will be Mamadou Job. Can we get him to extend his deal, because he's another asset? Kel Watts extending, massive deal for us. George Hoddle emerging and signing a longer contract, huge deal for us. Glenn McConnell, everyone goes, why are you adding him? Because if you wait too long, he won't sign it because he'll be too good and he'll be near the end of his deal. So actually starting with the end in mind and having a little bit of a longer game and a longer strategy is to try and tie these players down before they're too good. So that's part of it. Signing peak age players and high asset players is hard. The vast majority would warrant fees. We've bid some big fees in last summer and the January window just gone to try and get players, but didn't get them. But we'll visit that again in the summer. And buying some players is important. The vast majority of our signings in the last decade are free transfers. So to sign free transfers that then develop into assets that you sell for big money is quite hard. You look at clubs like that lot down the road that have done very well with a player trading model. They bought a lot of those players for good money from the National League, developed them and sold them. But that's another cost and another expense that we have to try and find. And you have to try and find it outside of the wage budget. So it's a big challenge, but it is the next thing we should be looking to do. Developing assets in-house, developing our own players. You see this year, how good is it when 3 of the starting 10 before Christmas in our best run are our academy boys? Like, everyone loves to see that. So we want to do more of that. And we want to find more Ben Knights as one example, and many others like that can develop, because that youthful edge to our team makes us better and more athletic, but it gives the team a bit more value. And one of the only ways of trying to be sustainable is transfer sales and large cup runs. And both of them are quite hard to achieve, but it's certainly part of the strategy to try and do more of it.
Does anyone else have a question? Hang on, I'll come to you with a microphone.
Evening, Colin Harris. You didn't mention Jake Eastwood,
In regards,
where he might be next season.
I didn't mention about 24 others, but he must be your favourite.
I think he's everybody's favourite at the moment.
Very good. I can't disclose that news right now, but he's doing very well, and we really like him.
Oh, good.
Scott.
Yeah, just one for Bonds. Not only are you a legend, we've got another one in the room in John Shaggy Taylor.
Proper legend.
Yeah, what are your memories of Shaggy, I guess, over in the McFarland era, and bet you enjoyed watching him plunder some goals, regardless of him saying about relegation. He's an absolute...
Yeah, that was my favourite team, Scotty, actually. That was my favourite era. I really grew up in that one, seeing him score a lot of goals. I was actually working in football in the community at the time when it was your testimonial that evening. So, it's a mad period of time when I grew up watching Shaggy play. Then I worked in the community when he was playing and then managing and as well. So yeah, it sort of overlaps over that period of time. it's great that when you're at a smaller club like ours, that you can feel that connected to people and that close to people. I think it's part of like Amelia's work that she talks about, the number of supporters that we've got. I listen now, and a third of our season ticket holders are under 18. And one of the reasons why it's amazing being a kid coming to Cambridge is you feel so much closer to it. And so than any other team you can go to. You go to the big clubs, you're just a person in a stadium and charged a fortune to do it. But I think you can get a connection here, connection to stories like his and everyone else's and that success. And then you still see now, he's still getting silverware now, like he's still doing bits around Europe. We've cracked it. So I do think that those things are particularly exciting. And some mega good cup games in that period of time as well. Like, my memory's hopeless, by the way, so specific games I'm lost on. But I often stood in the North Haven as well to watch those games before I was like a teenager and couldn't be bothered to stand up, so I went and sat in the family stand.
It always makes you feel proud. I'm sure you recognise this with player references as well, Bonds. You know, like if a player's incoming, they'll get good recommendation that we're a good club. And you see alongside Shaggy, like Dave Kitson, I caught up with him Saturday, and he just couldn't speak highly enough of the football club. So it's nice that we kind of have that, to fall back on. Like we're a club that is a good name, essentially.
Yeah, I think so, Scott. I think that's really important as well. I think your reputation is important, and the reputation of individual people, and that's why whoever's working here at a time, whether we play in here or we're employed here, you just have a responsibility to try and make it better for the time that you're here. And if you have that in your mind when you go to work, that when you leave it should be better than when you joined, then that's the right sort of mentality. So in terms of like a culture, we try and employ people and sign people that want to buy into that. If you stay here a year and make no contribution as a player, or you stay here for 2 years and you leave and you've done nothing other than pick up a few quid, to be honest with you, we'd rather not have you, because there is more to give than that. And the people that speak fondly of it were ones that really made an impact and bought into it. And they realised that when you have an impact, it feels important and it feels special. And also when you're a club like this, if you do that, if you buy into it and you give it everything you got and you do it properly, people absolutely love you for it. They will love you for it, and you'll always be welcome back. And I think that's a real powerful thing, which is why when we can get people that have made a difference over our history come back and still feel that affection and have that an interesting story to tell, I think it's really powerful. And the other thing that you learn when you do a job like this is, if you get all those people in a room that were part of successful teams and you ask them the stuff that made it successful, even across different areas, they'll say the same things. And success leaves really good clues, and it's that stuff that you then use to build your next successful team. And that's what we have to continually do, I think.
I pick up on the thing you said, Mark, about if you're at a club like Cambridge United as a fan, you feel part of it in a way that you never could at Premier League side. And that's how I've always viewed the club and got involved with it on all sorts of levels over the years. And I just wondered, Amelia, with your role, I see when I'm in front of the main stand, before, after, during the game, players giving their autographs, selfies, everything to the kids, the beaming smiles on their faces when they get them. How much do you work with the players to allow them to understand what an important part of their role that kind of thing is?
Yeah, that's an interesting angle, to be honest, because I think you'd like to hope, wouldn't you, that we don't have to sort of teach them the importance of that. And to be honest, we don't actively, in the way that you hear about sort of media training at a higher level club, we wouldn't formally do anything like that. So everything that you see generally is organic. Have I gone quiet? No. Is generally pretty organic, and I think that probably comes a little bit, as much as fans feel more connected because it's a small club, I think also it probably works in the reverse, in that players are sort of more exposed to the fans, so they probably feel more connected to the fans in that way. They probably see the same faces when they come down the main stand every week, and the same hands high-fiving them, and there's like a level of familiarity. So we don't have to do any formal coaching, thankfully, and I think that comes back to the broader points and points that Mark's made already about the culture and what the club stands for, and the impression that people get when they visit, and all of those things, I think, breed that in the players as well. In that, you know, we've had instances recently where we've taken a charity down to the training ground and they've been glowing about the players, and they've been disparaging again about other clubs that they've been to. I won't name any names, but that does seem to be quite a universal experience, and I think it, you know, to link all of the points together, I think that is reflective of a culture. And I think your point about the proximity to the fans, I think, is a part of that as well. And I think it works in the reverse. So thankfully we don't have to do too much to make them, you know, give autographs and stuff, and it's generally great.
I just want to add a point about young fans. I've got a 7-year-old grandson who has been to, I think, 8 games at the Abbey since last season, and this we started when he was 6. He hasn't yet seen us lose at home. I'm definitely persuaded to get him a season ticket because he should come. He went away to Harrogate and we lost. The first experience of losing, I had to explain that it's part of the game. But one of the things that he and his friends really love, and their parents, is in the South Stand, the feeling that it's safe, secure, it's fun, and the number of kids going there is definitely on the increase. And it speaks to the third of our fans being under 18. That's growing for the future, and it is all about the culture of the let's have a really fun day, make it fun for kids. He's been pitch side, he's been waving his flag. I know Carl does the banners on the signboard. These things, all of these things matter. It's not just one, it's the whole lot, but it really is making an impact.
Steve.
Thanks. I'll just pick up on my youngest, who is now a really, really cool 14-and-a-half-year-old girl. 4 years ago, she came to the open day, Mark, and she was absolutely smitten by how people would remember her, speak to her as if she was an adult, treat her like she was an adult, and that absolutely cuts through. And that was not just one or two, that was a number of them, including yourself at the time. And I think that she's way too cool to come now, of course, but at 14 and a half. But she still comes to watch football, but she would never come to the open day. But it is part of what draws her back all the time and brings her mate with her as well now. And she will do that, and we've got away tickets booked for every away game now for the rest of the season because she wants to go and do that, and that comes from that. And can I just say that our captain, who we haven't seen for a while, I think is the absolute antipathy of all of that. He is the best ambassador that any club could get and any young player could look up to. I think he is an absolutely fantastic clubman, appreciates everything, speaks so well, and we should all be very proud of him.
Well said, Steve.
Thank you.
Paul?
Keep them coming, Paul. Yeah, I guess it's for Ian, I think. Now that we've obviously been into a few months now since you've rebranded, just wondered what your thoughts are now about it and how successful it's been. Has it worked for you? Do you think there's still some more to sort of come with that?
A good measure, well, I think it's worked really well. I think the process was good. We had a bit of a false start, didn't we? Then we got going again, and but at the end of it, I think everyone bought into it. The retail figures are brilliant. Now, okay, that may be just people stocking up with the new brand, but it has gone down well, and I think it works. Oh, well done. That is a tattoo. Is that genuine? Yeah. But well done.
Not available from the club shop.
We'll do it.
I've got a pen, I could have a...
I mean, it's sort of nothing to do with me, but my view is that it's been exceptional, and that we have modernised, and in the digital age, it works so much better. And right now, we are in the best position we have ever been in the city with all the big hitters, and it looks a lot better to be alongside some of those establishments than perhaps the other one does. That is a personal view that would be disagreed with by lots of traditionalists. But then the era before that had a previous crest, may have said the same thing. And my personal view is if we stick, we can't move forwards. And that's with this place, and that's with the strategy for the team, and that's everything else. The future of the club, I don't think we can even imagine what it is. But I have this dream vision that Cambridge United playing in the Championship in front of 15,000 supporters in a city twice the size, engaged with every big city company on a par with everyone else in this city, with an international brand that develops Cambridge players and plays them in the team, and trades players, are all completely possible. A long way off, but that world that seems miles away is completely possible, because we've had some great highlights in the last few years, but and over the decades that many of you have supported, but the best stuff hasn't happened yet.
Steve again?
Yes, sorry,
Don't apologise.
just to draw two of those themes together. So from what we learnt about process on rebranding and whatever potential future ground development move may come, are there any thoughts about how that process in terms of the fan engagement may look differently next time round?
You mean specifically in relation to a new ground?
Yes.
Let me
Well, no, not just a new or a redevelopment here, if that's the chosen course, but would.
I think there's definitely a route that we have to engage with all the fans on what we choose to do going forward, whether it's here or somewhere else. Of course, we have to work out what that would be, and I think the engagement will be around fine details rather than what's the capacity is going to be, or where exactly it is going to be, because actually we're not going to get that much choice about where exactly it can be. So on the bits that we can engage with meaningfully, there is no doubt that we will. On other parts, we will crack on.
Yeah?
This is probably for Ian. I was thinking about some of the stuff that the club have done with sort of social media over the last few years, and it's been a real improvement. Things like the Abbey angle and all that stuff, fantastic, really good. And also thinking about the CBS documentary, and I was going to ask about that. I mean, whether that was successful, whether anything else is likely to come of it. And I mean, I don't have CBS. Are we able to see it? Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah. They're like smiling at Dan there. He's probably got it in his laptop. You can all crowd round there later. The CBS, it worked in parts. I think the feedback was it could have done with a bit more drama and a bit more edge. It was a bit of selling the whole thing, and it was a bit nice for the American audience. Was the they wanted more blood and guts, and which we didn't supply them with. So would we do it again? Possibly. If we did, probably slightly differently. It was good. It was good to help us engage, though, and it excited a number of people. For example, Brooks, now on the front of the shirt, American-based company. The idea we were doing something with CBS, which was visible to them, was quite attractive. And the other part about that was it was starting to tell the story. On's alluded to it. Our engagement with the city. It was telling the story of Cambridge and football and our place in it and the impact we made. So we learned quite a lot by doing it. Frankly, it wasn't hugely expensive. There was some cost to it. So overall, yeah, we're glad we did it, but it wasn't particularly game-changing.
I think the other thing is just what your expectation is with it. So if you expect it to be Wrexham, then it's never going to be that. The cost of it underwritten by the owners, engaged with a major partner, and put us in the conversations with people that we probably wouldn't have got involved in. And I think about things that have helped us launch off the back of that. We had an event at King's College. Cambridge United held an event at King's College in the University Gardens and engaged the biggest partners in the city. That's mega. That's never happened before. We had an event at the Arts Theatre recently where the foundation launched United for Cambridge. And I'm not saying that that was the hook for all of those things, but it was part of it. That wasn't the end goal and the end story. And the second thing that I think it allowed is, that was an in-house production by our media team internally, and the outcome is exceptional from that point of view. And to your point of social media, is develop that content that now, I don't even have TikTok, but that's another world that is now extended into, and all of the social media and footage things. We live in a digital age that is hooking a lot of people and a lot of sponsors and the new generation of fans. And Dan leads on all of that work with his department. And I think that the outcome is exceptional. And there may be a time in the future where that gets seen, but I don't know if that's correct or not.
The documentary, whether it certainly is possible that we show it. I mean,
Dan said yes. Dan said yes. Put it a minute.
I don't expect anything groundbreaking with it though, because it was produced in-house. So being frank, me and my team worked on it to put on air on CBS. So it's very different from an external production company coming in and creating a documentary. Essentially, we did it so that we could get on American television and engage partners such as Brooks, which was a big part of it, to be honest. So it was definitely useful in certain areas.
Yeah, but and don't talk it down, because Amazon weren't Amazon on day one.
Frank Pearson, you've been talking about a digital age. Can you, each of you, look behind you and tell me, each of you, how you find that CFU logo for this digital age, please?
Very good.
Modern, innovative, engaging.
Does what it says on the tin.
I carried on, absolutely brilliant. It's a world beater.
Right, you can stop there, don't ask.
If I was you, Frank, I'd design a new one and then just put it out there to the world and say, we're doing that before you ask for feedback, because that goes well.
Alistair to tattoo it on his chest first.
I'm not putting that one on.
Who's got another question, please?
I don't want to dominate.
Well, that's all right. There's nobody else.
Yeah, go.
I think there's one over here.
Yeah.
Over on the other side.
What is the current situation with the long-term injured players, and when are we likely to see them back on the field fully fit?
There's only 3. Michael Morrison's training available from this weekend. Adam Mayer and Killian Kouassi, we hope by before the end of March. Both come back from significant hamstrings. So hopefully for the run-in, but they're getting close.
We're in the running.
And George Huddle.
George Hoddle's season probably done. Had an operation on his knee. So yeah. I don't know if I'm saying something that Neil hasn't said publicly there. So.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Steve.
I'll go again.
Go again, mate.
I'm interested in your views. We've spoken about football regulator, and of course Godric was involved in that process from kind of step one, really. But now that it's real and it's starting to build up its muscle, I'm interested in how we see that potentially changing anything at all within how we operate, how we communicate.
Yes, I spent. Yeah, there we go. I had quite a lot to do with the regulator in that I was part of the EFL working group that met with the government and opposition before it became built. So we met with the Conservatives and both Secretary of State, Minister, and the DCMS on the Tory bill. I gave evidence in Parliament on the bill, the Tory bill. They then lost power. Labour brought it back, and we met with Lisa Nandy and Sports Minister. So there has been quite a long dialogue, which we've been fortunate to be up inside of, and wearing my legal hat. It was quite an interesting process. I was also at the meeting in Manchester where they had all of the clubs present to introduced the new chair and the senior people. My impression of the senior people were that they were pretty good. They'd had a lot of experience in regulation. None of them were what you might call football people, but they all had an interest in football. I think they've assembled a good group. I think the Act is pretty good. It covers all of the things that you would want to see it cover. For example, a ground relocation will need regulatory approval. A new investor of any significant proportion requires regulatory approval. So the aim of the regulator is to make football sustainable. It's a matter of record that we lost over £3 million, and that's not unusual. If you listen to Under the Abbey Stand, they did a pod with Kieran Maguire. Our numbers were not exceptional, but the aim is to get to a position where clubs can at least hope to break even, or not continually having to spend more and more chasing the impossible dream. Will they achieve that? I think there's a reasonable chance. The next big step for the regulator is what they call the State of the Game review, which they're engaged in now, and that will hopefully identify what are the key problems with football. We, in the working group, focused on two real big levers. One is the distribution of funds from the Premier League, broadcast money. There should be more of it into the lower leagues. And the other is how the money's spent. So trying to avoid the situation where money just flows into the clubs and then flows out to players and agents, because that's just, there's no point in keep adding the money if it just disappears. So there's got to be some sort of regulations as to how the money is spent. Get those two things right, I think there is hope that football could be made more sustainable. Obviously, it's still early days. The regulators only been in post for less than a year, 6 months, but I think the early signs are good.
And how do you see that potential, though, any of those changes actually affecting how you operate and how the fans experience football on a, not a week by week, but a month by month, really, year by year basis?
Well, I imagine a world where
just financial stability.
Yeah, the financial stability. Let's not have clubs in the position of Bury, Macclesfield, Wigan, Sheffield Wednesday, Morecambe, Southend. You know, you can just carry on rattling Bolton. They've all been in us as well. Yeah, we've all been in that situation, and isn't it going to be a better world where actually that doesn't happen, and that there is more stability and it's better for fans? But there's still a long way to go.
Just another one for Bonds, bit of a fresh one from Saturday. It's been on my mind since it stings. That feeling in football just doesn't get any better. I was absolutely gutted at the end as we were warming coconuts up, and that penalty. First and foremost, I thought in a League Two fixture to have 7,500 in the Abbey, you know, would have been unheard of years ago. So that was fantastic. It was a brilliant atmosphere and hotly contested game. Yeah, as I say, I thought we should have had a penalty on Ben Knight, especially when you look back on it, on the brilliant footage on Amber Angle today. And then, you know, just want your thoughts on sort of that incident and the one at the end. And sort of the referee just sort of allowed them to do it all game, take throw-ins 10, 15 yards further forward.
You've got to let it go.
I've got the up.
It's Tuesday now. You know, come on.
I'm having a meltdown here.
No, it doesn't get any, wouldn't it? Everyone hates that.
Comes from passion.
When there's game-defining moments. I think at the time I thought the ref was very, very quick to give it. I thought it was a bit soft, but then at the same time maybe a bit clumsy. I think we'd won it if it was against us, probably. And overall, yeah, I think in this way, you just move on really quickly. It's a good result, it's a good side, probably a fair outcome on the game, but because it happens right at the end, it's a killer. But we're in amazing form. Right? The run of form we're in is outstanding, and we're right in the mix with teams. Their budget's double the next place in the league. They're bought a League One team, and their budget was top half League One as well. So that doesn't actually mean anything. We got promoted last time with the second bottom budget. So how you spend your money and how you use it matters most. But at the same time, I do think I thought it was a good game. And to your earlier point, 7,500. You've only got to go before COVID, and look how much the club's grown in 5 years. Right, it's insane. And we need to make sure it doesn't stop there, because it's really exciting time. But yeah, I know there's 1,000 away fans in the ground, but all right, 6,500 home fans then. That's pretty exceptional. And we talked about the South Stand earlier, and it isn't always full. I think back to a time when Paul Barry quite openly didn't sell the South Habbing to away fans in League One, when they could have sold that and the South Stand, but he didn't want their fans to dominate, and he took the financial hit. And opening the South Stand in League One to home fans took a financial hit. But actually, the long game is we've got to build a supporter base. We need more seats, and we need somewhere for kids and families to go. And so all of that work keeps building. It's part of a bigger play to develop the club and put on all the things that Amelia spoke about at the start. So I think it's 1 minute we're really frustrated by a penalty in 90 plus whatever. And that's the beauty of the cycle of it. 1 minute you get wrapped up in that, and then you go, wow, look how far we've come. And then you go, don't worry about that, where are we going next? And that's the fun bit, I think. But yeah, it's I'm over it, mate. You're not yet, but I am over it.
You'll never be.
Scott, you've got to come and stand with us, because my 14-year-old said at final whistle, said, why is everybody acting like we just got beat 5-0? That's a good point.
Yeah, can I just add
in the table?
one thing? I am nearly over it. I'm not quite there, but after the game, I went down into the boardroom, and the referee's assessor was there, and is the coach, and I got to know them quite well over the years. So I said, and it's on the screen, they're playing the replay. So I said, "What do you think? Did you think that was a penalty?" He said, "Well, so it came on the screen." And then I said, "So what do you think?" And he just looked at me and smiled and winked, because he wasn't going to say it, but I don't think he thought it was a penalty. But anyway, we've got to let it go. So.
Told you, Bond, it's never a penalty.
We haven't mentioned Neil Harris yet this evening, and I just wanted to ask you, Mark, you've seen it at close quarters. Could you give us a bit of an insight into what Neil has done to shape the squad into the finely tuned and well-oiled machine that we see winning game after game now?
Yeah, I think it's excellence in coaching and recruitment gives you a chance of a good team, and we're probably, I wouldn't claim excellence in either yet, but we've certainly been very good in both. So the starting point is know the type of team you want to be, then sign players that can do what you need them to be that team. So that was part one. Last season, despite the fact that when we came back, every statistical model had us at 99% likely to be relegated, we were still in the mix near the end. And whatever happened, his approach to every game was to win it and to be, we can win it. And that was creating a mentality for the summer, really. And then the summer gave us a chance to clear out a lot of players, and there was way too many last season, way too many that didn't contribute. I thought they were doing us a favour by being here. And we were able to clear the decks and sign some people that we thought were good characters and good players and could do what we needed. And we're nowhere near finished yet, because we've talked about 3 or 4 window cycle to build a really good squad. So that there's that part firstly, and then the second part is the coaching staff. Him, Adam Barrett, Barry Core, Martin Davies have worked well with the players all the time to build a team that, at the beginning of the season, our intention was we wanted to try to be Port Vale. Very rarely do teams go down and go straight back, but that was our aspiration. Could we be Port Vale? But we can't be Carlisle, down and down again, which happens quite often to teams that go double relegation. And you look at the other 3 that came down with us. Our work to build a team that could be good this year started in February last year. Everyone else's started in July and August and maybe May and June if you're lucky. So timing's really important. And then the way in which we've coached the team to be really hard to beat to begin with. Not going to lose games. Going to have a brilliant defensive record. Going to work really well. Going to be quite functional. And hope that over time A, with recruitment, B, with the development of some of the younger players or some returning from long-term injuries, and then just building some confidence of being part of a team that doesn't get beat, goes on the pitch thinking they can win. You'd see that team evolve through the season. And through the season, we've probably become more athletic, more dominant with the ball, higher possession team than we were at the start, scoring more goals and scoring goals at a quicker rate than we were at the start, but still hard to beat and create very few chances and concede very few chances. So it's been a process of trying to get there, because you're not the team you want to be on day one, and we're still not that team yet. But it's been a bit of a process to get there. His work ethic, his relentlessness to get there, and his winning mentality is excellent. And that's why I think that's just spread across the team. And there's been a real energy from the people in charge now to drive home and be a winning football team above anything else. And we're on a nice track at the minute.
Anybody else?
Well, it's been quiet. It's been quiet all evening for you, Amelia. One for you. Best wishes to you in your role, anyway. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but yeah, a bit closer to your face.
Right, yeah, best wishes to you in your role. Just a question, have you set yourself any targets? Have you been set targets? And if, whichever way it is, do you think you're achieving those targets? Or is there more to do, or?
Certainly more to do, for sure. Thank you, first of all. Yeah, so we've got internal targets within the club. Some of you may be familiar with the EFL's Family Excellence Scheme, which has been a big goal of the clubs for the past few years. We've got silver a few years in a row, and the goal is to get gold, of course. So that's definitely been a big target of the club. So you would have obviously seen, the South Stand was a great opportunity for us to develop on everything that we can offer for families on a match day, and the feedback that we've had has been really encouraging. The obviously increasing attendances in the South Stand has been a big thing. We knew that was a longer term project. We knew that sort of on introduction of that as a home end, people weren't going to immediately move their season tickets over there. But well, you would have seen this season, I think attendance averaged over 1,000 down there now. And obviously with the smaller away followings, it seems to have been a good decision. So that's a tangible target that's set from the club. I think my own personal targets are probably less tangible, but I think in all of the areas that I cover and that the club covers in terms of engaging with supporters and all of the different ways that can be, I think there's so many ways to measure how that's improved, and obviously those types of things, like I say, are tangible, but a lot of those I think are just around sentiment, and I think we are a club with great sentiment around our supporters, and we've seen that in anecdotal feedback, but also when we're putting out surveys, we're getting really good responses. And I think something that was quite striking to us as a club was in a season where we'd just been relegated, the overwhelming sentiment among fans was that fans felt the club was heading in a progressive and positive direction. And I'm not sure how many clubs can say that after a relegation season. So that was really heartening. But I think all of that's to say that, yeah, there are some tangible targets, but there's also a lot of intangible ones, and there's a lot of wins that come week on week and in small moments, and in comments from fans, and in seeing people enjoying a match day experience or adding something in on a match day and seeing it really work. So I think there's lots of different ways which I would measure my own success, and I think the club measures the success of the role. I hope that somewhat answers your question.
Can I ask specifically, how are average attendances against last year?
Average attendances around the ground for home fans are about on par. Is that right, Dan? Can you give me a nod?
Yeah, they're about on par, yeah.
Yeah, about the same. And
just out of interest away, I guess it's down. Is it because
hugely down, yeah. So average attendance on balance would be down, yeah. But obviously you're getting a lot of sort of 100 people crowds, whereas we didn't get that.
99.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we can be broadly happy with that.
Thanks very much, Amelia. Paul, you've got the last question of the evening.
Oh, okay. Kel Watts, what a legend. Where did that knee back start from? He's becoming so It's a bit of a cult thing now, and it's not just us that are noticing it. There's a lot of clubs, supporters, that are commenting on it.
They all still shout for a pass back, though, don't they?
They do.
Every time.
It's famous.
Every time. And now our fans cheer when they shout. It's brilliant. I love it.
Where did it come from? Where did it start?
I have no idea where it started. I mean, it's just sensible defending, to be honest. He's tried it a couple of times, fairly risky situations. He tried one about 40 yards out the other day. But it's funny, I went to watch the under-18s play today, and the centre-half, 2 centre-halves in that game, 3 times in 90 minutes they did it. So it's spreading round. And Michael Morrison did it in a game earlier in the season. And at the time, you just saw Kel look at him and smirk a little bit. He's thinking, I'm still teaching you a trick or two, the old man.
Can't wait for him to score doing it.
Our time is up. I've just come to Shaggy for one last bit of input.
Yeah, I've got a question, so I'm going to make a bit of a personal statement, if that's all right. I've sat here for an hour, actually got quite emotional about being here, so thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Amelia, for looking after us legends on Saturday. It was an amazing day. Funny enough, I was sitting in the south stand and I thought it was a penalty because centre half got the wrong side and you're just asking for trouble. Anyway, Ian, I've known you a while and I've known the owner, not personally obviously, and you will all have different opinions and views on what he does, ground, no ground, move, stay, etc. But what I do know about Mr. Barry is that he has got this football club at heart in every decision that he makes. God, this is going to hurt this next bit. Any football club that has developed over the last 5, 6, 7 years, there has to be someone driving that ship. Without question at this football club, it's Mr. Bonner driving that ship. He is intelligent, knowledgeable, articulate, and a really genuinely top bloke. And I always feel that part of my heart is always at this football club. And at this present moment in time, with him at the sort of footballing helm, we are in very, very, very good hands. So on behalf of everybody, for what you've done for this football club, it's a bit of a thing for your bonds. And for me, thank you.
Well said, Shaggy. And that's a fantastic positive note to end on. It's been a great evening. Thanks for all of your questions. You can hear them again on online. Where does that get shown? Is it the CF?
YouTube.
On YouTube.
We'll publish the link.
Have a look on YouTube and make sure they caught your best side. It just remains for me to thank our panellists this evening, Amelia and Ian and Mark. Let's give them a round of applause. And our guest, John Taylor. Thank you very much from me. Have a little break now, I think, and then it's your AGM. Thank you very much.
10 minutes. Because Shaggy is going to get off, I'm going to jump the agenda a little bit. One of the things that we did this year was to facilitate that trip. We didn't pay for it, we just facilitated that trip because it was some complications around the administration who was going to blah, 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 blah. So I'm delighted that we were able to do it. I'm even more delighted that you brought home a European trophy. That's probably the only one this club will ever win, but it's still a European trophy. Thanks for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. You live in here for me like you do for many of us, and that team and the experiences and the moments that you gave us. So lovely to see you looking so well, still playing some great football. Really appreciate it, being involved with the club. It's a pleasure to have you here tonight.
Thank you. And without your help, without CFU's help, and Gina
in particular,
it was like, no, we'll help you. And it was like, that's how I feel when I come back. You know what I mean? The
Cool.
people who and it's like, genuinely, without you, we might struggle.
No, you might.
So,
Well, we're delighted that we could do it and help you guys and help the club, and it's great. So appreciate you coming. Appreciate you bringing the trophy.
Lovely.
You going to take it with you?
No, stay here.
Just stay here.
It's going to go in the museum.
Good man.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Thanks,
to see you.
everybody.
All right.
Take care.
Take care, mate.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers, Jim.
Good to see you, Shaggy.
Thanks, man. Yeah. See you soon.
Right, some points of order which we must go through. So welcome to the AGM part of our event. Have we got an agenda, Paul, or not on the screen? Is it on the screen or do I have to read it out? There we go. So we will go through the agenda. I think we'll be done by 9:30, I'm pretty sure. So we've got apologies for absence, minutes to the last meeting. I'm Gina again for the annual report. Terry's going to do our membership and merchandise update. Paul's going to do a quick treasurer's report. We're going to run through the election of the CFU Trust Board. I'm Gina again for the away travel. Is Terry Carl?
Yes.
Terry's Carl for the lottery, which none of us should ever forget about what a wonderful thing that is. And Anushka is Andrew to do the shadow board. So it's all going off tonight. If anybody's got questions at any stage, please shout as we go through. It's the point of this is not to hear our own voices, it's to impart some information, hopefully solicit some response. And at the end, we'll quickly do the raffle and I hope that we will be done in decent time. Firstly, on a sad note, we had 3 CFU members who we lost in the last year. Peter Day passed in August. Samantha Schwepp in June, and Sam was a regular away travel coach member. And of course James Taylor, who I guess most of us knew from his volunteering on match days, and he was a CFU board member as well for a number of years, and all will be sadly missed and hopefully fondly remembered by many. We have had, as you can tell by the stand-ins, we've got a few apologies from the Trust Board. So Carl, Andrew, Leanne, Chris Neild and Chris Casey, and Emma, and also from Martin Chapman. The minutes of the last meeting from a year ago have been public for some time, and I think we haven't had any proposed alterations. So in my standing role as chair, I propose to accept last year's minutes, and I need somebody to second that. Terry? Frank?
Yeah.
4. Thank you. Against? Claire? No. Okay. Adopted. Thank you. And my CFU annual reports. I'm going to read and or use it as my inspiration. I'm not going to read word for word. We've obviously talked a bit about the tonight already about the stadium redevelopment potential move, and we understand the sentiments of most fans that, quite rightly and understandably, in an ideal world we'd stay put with some redevelopment work going on. But I think we also all appreciate that that may not be possible, and I think a 20-year payback. Personally, I think the club have communicated their process pretty well, and certainly the most recent statements by Paul Barry about the payback periods and the amount of money invested, I think, were very clear. And I also think it's great that a director of the club has been present at the last 2 or 3 talking CFU AGMs, talking reasonably openly about that process. I think from our role, the reason I was kind of asking the question earlier about the process that's been learnt and about engaging with fans as that process has gone through, I think it's a really important one. And I think that there are some points that will come out of the Football Regulator Bill that will require clubs to communicate and to consult with fans. That, again, I was pushing for a little bit today, but I understand that they're not all completely clear. Yeah, but we will absolutely take it upon as one of our key roles to be the conduit of that communication, not to be the people they communicate with, but for us to be able to set up that communication between the fan base and the club. And it might not just be about the taps, it might be about things a little bit more than that, just in that go on. So please rest assured that we will be as active as we possibly can be in that. We are also looking at whether there are routes for us to take to give some protection against some of the potential pitfalls of that process. So there's a thing called an asset of community value that you can apply for, and it can be granted, that give you some rights over that. It's not to stand in the way of any of the development work, it's just to ensure that there is some potential comeback should worst case happen, such as sell the ground, go and rent somewhere before a new stadium is built, would be an imperfect solution that we may be able to put some caveat in against that happening. So we're in that process with the Football Supporters Association as they have some experience of doing it. So a few of the things that we've done this year. We were one of the few clubs who were able to get a meeting with the interim football regulator, but just before the current incumbent was appointed, and to run through some of that process as to what that could look like and how what some of the effects of that could be. And I think because Ian and Godric Smith, the two board members, have been closely involved in that process going through Parliament, I think we were kind of hooked up the waiting list a little bit. And even though nothing particularly good came, nothing particularly concrete came from that, I think it's given us a communication route through. I think it gave us a chance to put some points across and to hear some ideas and thoughts about how that may develop. We have continued our support of the 100 Years of Coconuts, and particularly their Hall of Fame dinner in November, where we financially support that event, and a lot of our members will attend, of course. And that was topped off this year with the promotional side being honoured at the... I wasn't at the game, actually. Which game was it? Accrington. We had our CFU Takeover Day at the Crew game to celebrate our 25 years, and we've got some merchandise commemorating that 25 years with the team wearing the CFU tops during their warm-up, and some interviews at half-time. Going back to the formation of CFU, why was it originally formed, and some of the challenges that it's gone through over the years to this point of kind of blissful, everything's really happy and easy and everything's going superbly well. But of course we mustn't forget that it hasn't always been that way, and it's because of us that some of those things are even possible today. And of course we had the British Heart Foundation Challenge. Terry, I think you were the only member here who did it, who's actually here tonight, so congratulations for that. And we've done continue to support the Robert Osborne Memorial Walk, and I think we raised £1,000 through some of our efforts. So we've also got a draw for a signed shirt coming up. We've talked about the Legends Tour. I mean, it was great. If you got a chance to watch any of it, some of those boys can still play football. It was all streamed live, and I'm sure it's probably still there somewhere if you search. Sorry?
It's on our website.
It's on our website. Sorry, of course it's on our website. Everything's on our website. We continue, and we'll talk about the away travel, but specifically. But I think it's an invaluable thing. A lot of the youngsters use it. I think that is not only good for them to be able to get to games. I didn't realise that such a big proportion of our season ticket holders were under 18. But most importantly, it gives them a safe way to travel to games. And Gina and the people who support her around it, constantly reinforcing about behaviour standards, what to do if there's trouble, what to do if they get into that trouble, and I think it's a really, really valuable piece that we continue to support our young supporters through it, and we are looking to do more away from the away travel, outside of the away travel piece as well, with them on that, and I think that's a real piece that we can take responsibility for. Our merchandise that Terry's going to talk about, and we've got some examples as we continue to develop that and looking at different ideas, not to take away sales from the club shop, but to kind of maybe do some things that they wouldn't quite be brave enough to do. And our resident author Andrew's book has been out, the season that nearly was, and all of those funds are going forward. And have we got some here tonight?
Yes, we've got some over
there. And we've got that, so with the books here. And I think, as we'll talk about our board makeup in a minute, but our learned secretary here, who's been scribing away for us for how long?
I haven't checked really.
12 years.
12?
No. Because when I first was introduced to the board, I used to phone people up. That was my job. I think about 10 years.
All right, we'll take 10 years. I think that's still quite a long commitment. So Frank is resigning or retiring from his secretary position for us, but it is a thankless job a lot of the time, but an absolutely essential one. And the record keeping and the valuable resource that gives us should absolutely not go unnoticed. So this will be Frank's last AGM as secretary. Just formally, Frank, thank you very much on behalf of the CFU Trust Board. Absolute start.
I'm not resigning or retiring immediately afterwards. I'm going to write the minutes up, so the next secretary won't have to do that. And then I'm also going to take the minutes at the next
meeting, sure.
board. My plan is to retire at the end of March, immediately before my 80th birthday. I think it needs to be a younger person.
Oh, I don't think age has got anything to do with it, but I completely understand that you might want some of your time back.
Well, I'm following Colin Proctor's example. He was close. When he was at 80, he said he was going to step down a bit, but I can't understand why he's not here today.
We're getting back then.
Getting back,
yeah. So I think that's kind of a summary of what we've been up to. Anybody got any questions? Anything from that bit? Very good. Our next point then is membership and merchandise. So over to you, Terence.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I also shan't bother with the microphone. If you can all hear me, you sleep over there. Never mind. Membership at the AGM last year, the membership was 339, and during the year it stayed roughly at that same figure until the CFU takeover day last November, when we saw an increase, and currently the number is around 360. So we've got a bit of an uptake. So maybe we should make it an annual event. And also, perhaps it's just coincidence that November was the start of our really great unbeaten run. And personally, I think that it was the players wearing CFU branded T-shirt was the catalyst. So that's why we may have to do it again. We'd love more members, especially younger fans. It was interesting to hear Amelia saying that a third of the season ticket holders are young people. So what we really want to do is try and get their attention, explain what we're here doing, and get them on board and become members, and they can take over places on the board, because most of us are getting a little bit mature now. CFU is part of the shadow board, so our views are heard, and if there's a particular issue, Gina will always speak direct to Alex. We'd love to hear your views, and there are many ways to get in contact. You can use social media, although direct contact is better, in my opinion. So you can use Contact CFU page on our website, or contact CFU at cambridgefansunited.org. And of course, face-to-face is nice, so come and see Gina or myself. We're at the cabin just outside there on match days. Any questions on membership? Good. I'll move on to merchandise. So we do a small amount of merchandise, items that we hope complement what is available in the club shop. Most items are made to order, so we don't have to spend money on stock, and the drinks coasters are made individually, made by Leanne. Things like the Love United Hate Borough pin badges are quite expensive in the small quantities, and I must admit I was worried that we wouldn't have enough interest at £5 or £4 to CFU members, so I'm really happy that we sold 99 out of the 100, and the last one is available over there as a prize. Most of the raffle prizes on that table are samples to see if there's any interest in them. Is it worth us? Or is it worth me putting them on the website? So if you have a look at those and think I'd really like one of those, a drinks bottle or something or other like that, then let us know. Many of them can have some form of personalisation. So if you did want a drinks bottle with CFU or Cambridge United on and your name, we can look to do things like that. We try and offer CFU members a discount for items purchased at the cabin, and if we have a special offer, products can be collected at the cabin, we'll give you £1 cash back, just as a thank you. We also have Amber Bells items in our web shop with some stock at the cabin, and we have some copies of the Celery and Coconuts books over there, along with Andrew Bennett's books, The Season That Nearly Was. Any questions?
Andrew Stevens.
Andrew Stevens, sorry, what did I say?
Andrew Bennett.
Andrew Bennett. We have Andrew Bennett's book and we have Andrew Stevens' book. So we're both Andrews. Any questions, anything that you think you like or don't like, or that you can see me after? Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Who's next?
Paul.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Just very briefly, because obviously you should all have on a table in front of you a copy of the accounts for ending last year, ending in August. Okay, so quickly just through the highlights. We finished on turnover was 105,953 against the previous year of 106,000. So turnover was up. Was slightly down on year on year. However, the total expenditure of £79,459 was a lot lower than the previous year of 109,538. So we spent less. So the overall profit and loss was £121,045 for this year, and the previous year was £94,663. So roughly, we ended up basically being £26,000 higher year on year. So all in all, considering all the activities and things that we paid for, all the things that we do on the away coaches and so on and so forth, we're still in a good, healthy position, and I hope that that's just one thing I need to do. I need to explain. Now, normally at the end of when I read the numbers through each year, there's a little declaration where we absolve ourselves of the audit requirement every year. It's a thing that when you have your annual accounts, you're supposed to get them audited extensively by an accountancy firm on a regular basis, and a lot of the years you don't have to. You can opt out of it, but at some point you've got to have it done. This is all covered by Section 84 of the Cooperative and Community Benefit Society Act of 2014. Now, previously, the law has recently changed last year. It was a different Act of Parliament, but this has been now superseded. As I say, Section 84 of the Cooperative and Community Benefits Act 2014 allows registered societies to pass a resolution at a general meeting to opt out of the requirement to appoint auditors in Section 83 of the Act, provided that less than 20% of the votes are cast against it and less than 10% of the members object. It applies to smaller societies meeting specifically with their assets and turnovers in their criteria. So that covers us. So basically I just have to ask the membership now that you're going to pass the accounts for that year, and that you all also agree that we do not need them to be audited that year. So first of all, we'll ask to see whether anybody, a show of hands, if anybody wants the accounts to be audited. Right, that's less than 20%. I now ask the floor to second and pass the accounts.
I'll second it.
Yeah. Okay.
So who proposed? Who voted?
Paul proposed it, I seconded it,
I'm supposing it. Yeah.
and we now need to vote on it.
Okay. And all those in favour? It's pretty much everybody. Thank you very much. Sorry, yeah, any
There was
questions?
one question that you got, wasn't there?
Yes, there was one question that came in from Colin Fairs.
Yes.
That I sent to you.
Yes.
Do you have the answer? It was basically, we've got cash in the bank, and we've got cash in the bank, and yet we're not receiving any interest in it. So that was the question for Paul. Why don't we get any interest?
Okay, so there is, when you set up a business, effectively what we are acting as a business, bank account with a bank, you normally have a current account, which is your trading account, your day-to-day trading account, which doesn't give you interest. However, they sometimes give you a savings account with it, a secondary account, which does offer interest. Now, we haven't been using that, so it's a good point. We could probably use it, and I think we need to probably look into transferring money across from one account to the other to take advantage of that. So that is something that probably we haven't actually done because of the low interest rates. It hasn't really sort of been something that's been a priority. So, but certainly as a point of order, I will look into that. Okay. All right.
Any other questions on the accounts for Paul?
No.
No. Election Trust Board. I'll do the standard bits first. So members standing down by rotation are Leanne, Paul, Gina and Margaret, but all are willing to continue. And then the rest of us are continuing, with the exception of Frank, as we talked about. And we did have Ben resign during the year. I think his ever-growing number of children is kind of causing him some time challenges. We did put out for nominations. I think, as Terry's already said, that we benefit from new blood, we benefit from new ideas and different viewpoints. I would absolutely encourage you to think about whether you want to join or whether you know somebody else, and whether we can jointly apply pressure. Certainly age profile would be great to get some younger people involved and making sure that we kind of hear firsthand the different viewpoints of the different parts of the fan base. But I understand that it's maybe not the sexiest thing that some people are going to find to do with their time. But having joined 2 years ago, I think personally, I think it's a very valuable role to do, and I think there's an awful lot more that we can be doing above and beyond where we are today. And sometimes when the club's doing really well, both on and off the pitch at the moment, there's less need for things like this. But who knows when, if Paul and Mark decide they're going to pack up or something terrible happens to their businesses, then where do we stand? And I think that's where having a strong fan organisation is absolutely right to have. So please give it some thought. If it's nobody in the room today, but you can think of somebody who you think may be appropriate, then I'll have a word with them, drop us a line, let us know. It'd be great. It's always really good to, I think, to keep the makeup of the trust board changing through regularly anyway. And well, yes, definitely. It would be certainly very good if we could get some younger blood anyway.
Can I say something about the job of secretary? It's not as difficult as it used to be. 10 years ago, when they had the questions, I had to write down all the things and come up with they're now all recorded by someone called Ollie Kane, as he did. He's both gone by now. So I don't have to do any of that. Oh, there he is, yeah. And also, but although I'm writing down all these things that have been said, normally the people give me their notes so I can use them. Well, years ago, that would all be handwritten, and most of them you couldn't understand. But these days, people are using computers like typed copies. So it's not as difficult as you might think.
Okay, am I back to being Gina next?
Yes.
It's only a quick one now.
Away travel report. As I have said, certainly already tonight and previous years, I do think that this is a hugely valuable thing that we run. I say we, Gina runs with some help from a few others. But it's an amazing opportunity that I think if we didn't do it, I think that a lot of our away support wouldn't get to games. Sometimes it's only one coach, but other times, how many did we take to Fulham?
Six.
Sometimes it could be 6.
50 people.
So, yeah, I mean, I think even if it's only one coach, that's one coach predominantly of kids who may be struggling to get to away games using the train because of changing and whatever. But and sometimes costs as well. We continue to be very well supported by 4 sponsors. This tends to be in terms of a sum of money for the season that helps to subsidise some of the away travel costs. So the way that Gina works it is that if it's a local game, we'll probably make a bit of money on the travel. But if we were going to, in the days when we were going to Carlisle, we'd be losing quite a lot of money. And it kind of we use the sponsorship to balance off those costs of the more expensive away trips. So East Sussex U's, Worcester U's, International Sports Convention, and of course our very own lottery are regular contributors to and sponsors to our travel, helping to keep it at a sensible cost. And again, predominantly because it's used a lot by the youngsters. And I think if we didn't have that ongoing sponsorship from them, I think our under 18s travelling support would be a lot less. We've certainly got some of those carried over already for next year, but again, if you know of anybody, think of anything that we should be approaching for some of that sponsorship, they get a bit of coverage and a bit of marketing for it. We put it out in a lot of our communication going out, and the people who are using the service certainly get to know about it. We've had some travails over the last couple of years about where pickups can happen, and marshals along the road from us have been incredibly helpful and flexible in allowing us to use their car parking to do the coach pickups there. Obviously it's slightly more convenient space than trying to do it at the ground, and a bit closer to park and ride as well. So I think we've done every league game this season. Barnet in the Virtue Trophy, Fulham, as we've talked about, obviously in the EFL Cup, and Stockport in the FA Cup. Now, even though Gina does an awful lot of the hard work, she's very ably supported and by Dave, but also by a series of volunteers. And when we have more than one coach going somewhere, we always need stewards to look after people and making sure that the right people are getting on the right coaches and hopefully getting off at the right end, and that there's no alcohol and blah, 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 blah. So on behalf of Gina, thank you to all of those who have helped us steward. She's talking about taking roughly 10% of the crowd, and to say it's probably the youngest 10%, which is great. And I think that Fulham was our biggest one ever, possibly.
Biggest one for CF.
Yeah, that we've ever done. So that's great. We've been using Grays of Ely. They also do the team transport, but and obviously we'll continue to look around and see whether or not that remains the most competitive way to do it. Is that it? The page is slightly out of order. Great. Okay. Any questions on away travel? Any ideas? Anybody want to sponsor anything? Okay. Thank you. Back over to Carl.
Well, I had to offer, otherwise you'd have Steve again for this one. So the full report is on our website. I'm not going to read everything. Some of it may or may not come up. But I've just picked out a few of the what I thought were important things. So 2025 was a busy and productive year, and the lottery is very appreciative of the support from CUFC CEO Alex Tunbridge. It's been very helpful in various ways. A reminder of the aims: firstly, to enhance the fans' experience at the Abbey, and secondly, to support local charitable and community projects. There's weekly draws during the football season, providing a fantastic opportunity for members. 4 times £100 cash on the must-win Monday. Then there's the midweek money can't buy prizes of things like signed shirts, hospitality packages and match ball presentations. The accumulator increases by £50 every week until it's won. It's a £2,500 maximum. And there were also special £500 Christmas draw winners. Currently the lottery has 567 members. It costs just £2 a week. You can pay by standing order, direct debit, credit card, PayPal or cash. So pretty well anyway. Of that money, 47.5% goes in prizes. The same amount goes in distribution. 2.5% goes as charitable donations, and 2.5% is costs. If you look at the National Lottery, they would love to have figures like that. I think their costs are something like 50%, likewise the postcode lottery. The cash prizes total over £26,000. Some of the £27,000 distribution was used for South Stand fan zone covers, disability ramp for the main stand, jackets and bibs for the Abbey helpers and the stewards, and also paid for the Amber Moose costume. Some of the charity donations were to St Nicholas Hospice on behalf of Tom Youngs, Ian Darler's The Big Fish Off, Phil Mullins' Blind and Down Syndrome Training Nights, and also the East Anglian Children's Hospital. Financially, the lottery has a bank balance of over 40,000, so there's adequate funds to cover its liabilities. Please do join the lottery, and if you have any ideas on projects to benefit fans or any local charitable or community projects, please let us know. Any questions? Thank you very much. Shall now go back to Nottingham.
And Andrew.
My apologies, I only knew about 15 minutes ago that I was going to do this. So I am on the shadow board, but this is written by Andrew. So there are now 8 fans on the shadow board, with Ben Phillips and Nigel Pearce recently standing down, and Emma Smith, who was representing the Amber Bells, stood down some time ago. Currently, the Supporters Club have 2 representatives, as have CUSP and CFU. The Amber Bells has 1 member. The CU Lottery is also represented, and up until recently, 100 Years of Coconuts has had a member. It's fair to say that the Shadow Board has gradually evolved since its inception. Its membership has changed, and to agree, its purpose. We were one of the first Shadow Boards to be formed, and Nigel Pearce wrote its constitution before the Fans-led Review reported and before the Football Governance Bill was passed, and an independent regulator appointed. Early signs are encouraging, but we wait to see just how much more fans can expect to be represented. It has been accepted that the golden share concept is no longer needed, since all heritage matters are now protected by law, and the majority of fans must be in agreement before changes in this area can be made. CFU are attending a meeting of the FSA where it is hoped there will be greater clarity about how fans should be represented. This has implications for the Shadow Board. How many members should there be? How long should their membership last? How should they be elected? Who should they be accountable to, and how? How do we guarantee transparency? And so on. We have increased membership on the Shadow Board, held separate meetings from those with the club, and plan to have a presence on social media. To many fans, the Shadow Board is still invisible. We need to be quicker at getting minutes published and better at telling fans what we do. and at finding out what they should like us to do. There are obviously some constrictions with what we can say and can't say from what the club asks us to do at early stages of decisions they're making. Personally, I think the Shadow Board could have made more of its role in the process of changing the crest, which was more successful the second time round because fans felt more involved. This is now a requirement, and it is in the interest of the club and the fans that the system works and is seen to work. I don't know what recommendations will be made, but I do believe that CFU have a case for greater representation. It is fully independent and democratic. It was a major shareholder and were represented by a director for many years. It has put a lot of money into the club, and most significantly of all, its representatives are directly elected and accountable to members. CFU have a proud history of representing fans' interests when the club is in crisis, and we have worked closely with it in better times with no crisis in sight. The club will need to guarantee that fan engagement happens effectively, and I believe that CFU can help significantly in that process. Finally, I would like to thank Alex Tunbridge for his determined efforts to make the Shadow Board effective and productive, and also Nigel Pearce, who, despite stepping down, has offered his help in modifying the original constitution, which he wrote for the Shadow Board, and there are exciting days ahead. So, does anyone have any questions?
I do, but I'll spare you. Yeah. Do you guys have any perception as to what difference the regulator and the new powers that they will have will actually bring? You referenced a couple of things you just read out around things like the club crest and that will need to be consulted.
Yeah.
More now, but.
I think there's quite a lot of things that will be covered, and it is still a bit vague at this stage. I don't think we totally know. Ian Mather, obviously, he alluded to it earlier that he's been really involved, and he comes to quite a lot of the
He only talks about finance and financial sustainability of clubs. The regulator will do more than that,
yeah,
if they get their full powers enacted.
Yeah, looking at more like the heritage piece,
yeah,
the colours, the name,
yeah,
locations, all
yeah.
things like that, badges,
yeah,
all of that will be
okay,
fully.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys, that we can get out?
Any other business?
Okay, so that's the agenda. If there are any questions, any points, any comments at all? Okay, thank you for attendance. I just think that we need to create a better interaction, some better routes in for people to kind of get their feedback. So if anybody's got any thoughts and ideas about this, any other areas that we should be, as CFU, we should be looking to get involved in, then please do let us know. The point of our involvement is to provide some of the essential things of away travel. And I mean, I think the lottery is an amazing thing, and I think we do an absolutely fantastic job of not telling anybody about it, personally. I think it's an incredible thing, and I think if we could do a better job of communicating that on a wider basis, I don't see why everybody would not be putting their few quid in every week, because not only does it give you potentially some really good returns, I won twice in 2 weeks, but I think the money goes to some really good things, and I don't think we tell enough people about it. So anyway, any thoughts and ideas like that, please do feed them back into us. It's really interesting to hear what other people are thinking. Am I going to continue my winning streak, Terry?